We all just stepped out of a panel on the visions of the jewelry future, and I think we all came up with some really interesting thoughts and ideas in separate topics. So I'd like each one of you to share a little bit what it was that you talked about and what you got out of it as well. And
I'll tell you what I got out of it. Matt said something that was, and I can find the dark lining behind the silver cloud sometimes. This is a difficult time for our industry, but it's exciting. And you were talking today about, Matt was talking about how it's energy and it's excitement and it's take a big bite of it. And you know, I've been sitting around dooming and glooming in my head more than I realized when I heard, yeah, it is exciting. And the change is huge. The change is huge. But that's going to be a lot of fun. I never thought about it as fun, like fun. I thought about it as dreary and a job until you brought that little point up today. It was really cool. That's what I got. This change is huge and it's massive, but it is exciting. And I'm like all pumped up about this now when I was really concerned about it before you used that little phrase.
Matt,
well, good. My job.
My job. At least I'll be.
Right. Good. Right. Well, you know, I'm very excited. I think every time that there is a difficult economy or a recession, it is huge opportunities to be able to gain market share, to be able to actually build wealth, because there's so much opportunity. I think the real critical part, though, is the attitude that you go in to make it happen. You know, today there is tremendous opportunity of hiring very, very fine, talented people. It's really exciting about creating new style and thinking outside of the box and developing new products. You know, when we were talking about designers today, designers are crucially important. Branded product is very, very important. But I believe that the future is really about customization, personalization of all of these brands and these styles that are so proven in order to give that personal investment and that passion for the consumer when they're buying it. That's what makes them come back to buy more.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I sort of joked with you about I agreed with 50% and I wasn't sure which 50 it was. The reality is what you talked about in terms of customization and innovation is not mutually exclusive with what I talked about in terms of branding. So I think it's really a really good marriage of the two. And you know, even in your own sort of conversation around, let's not drive on technology, it's really about innovation, but yet you use some really good technological advances to make your point, whether it be the iPad or the BlackBerry or what have you. So it's really a combination. It's really embracing innovation, embracing technology, embracing brands and what they can do for you, and finding a way to differentiate your store. And the comments about the people, I mean, that's just so absolutely huge. No matter what we do, no matter what the brands do, no matter what the advertising is,
absolutely.
If at the end of the day you drive them in and people can't close the sale, you got nothing.
Although something else was said today that Ken brought a point up, and I was so glad to hear you use this number. This fear of the internet, the fear and the fact that more sales, if I understood your numbers correctly, more sales are being made in bricks and mortar stores now than were in the past. Is that correct?
Essentially.
Essentially. Well, I won't let the facts confuse me. But I have this, you verified something that I believe in very strongly. I don't believe in the jewelry business, in the diamond business, in Matt's passion and your passion. This is an emotional experience, and nobody wants to put $10,000 in a vending machine and pull the thing and let the ring drop out of the bottom. They don't want that. They want the interaction. Half the fun for me as a man to buy something nice for my wife in a jewelry store is the experience when I'm in there, the feel good I get while I'm doing it. And I'm glad that the retailers heard your numbers and say, you know, bricks and mortar stores are still essential, and they're going to be, right?
Absolutely. No question about it. I think if I were connecting the dots this morning, what I would do is take a look at my numbers that show that the population is going to grow in the United States and the number of households is going to grow, which means the market's going to grow. But, and here's the big but, connecting those dots, the way you have sold jewelry in the past, what you've sold jewelry in the past, or what jewelry you've sold in the past, and who you're selling it to, all changing.
Right.
You can't sell jewelry like you've sold for the last 30 or 40 years. The product that's sold so well for the last 30 years isn't going to be what's going to sell to those millennials. They want something different. They want something innovative. And I thought Matt's idea of bringing the customer, the young customer in the store, and putting them, I'm guessing, in front of a screen and saying, design your piece of jewelry, and when it gets designed, push the button and give us 3 days, a week, whatever, and it'll be in the store ready to put on your finger or around your neck. What a fabulous idea.
Well, here again, connecting the dots is you've got to have product in your store to be able to show. That is where you always start. But you know, the jeweler has always been in love with their inventory. And today in good business, you just can't do that. And the jeweler needs to be a professional where they're taking home half of their profits each year rather than putting it back into the store. Particularly when we see adverse metal markets or stone markets and their inventories now become less, margin is tight, you end up setting yourself up for failure. So certainly you have inventory, live inventory, but it is less. And then you use the technology, you use the innovation of tools, prototype products that look just like the product, but you use that as a starting point model. Let me show you this. Let me put it on your hand. Let me show you how the scale is. This will look, but you know, with your finger being long or short or fat or whatever it is, I really recommend we take this ring if you love that style, but let's lengthen it a little bit. Oh, you want to use your grandmother's stone. We can do that, but that stone is a different shape than what this is. Let me show you how that is going to look. And then you start going from live product to prototype product to virtual product, and you build the perfect piece for the customer and get them very, very excited. That is really what it's all about today. And you can do that with inventory at a fraction of what you have done in the past.
Terry, how do you think that that kind of new sales approach and that kind of technique is going to impact the problems of hiring people who are no longer just saying, here isn't this beautiful, but need to learn how to take somebody from A to Z in a sale?
Well, we touched on that today in this in the conversation somewhat. The demands on the sales force are going to be huge, and it's a nice person behind the counter that knows where the solitaire rings are and what a quarter and a half carry. That's gone. These professionals behind the counter are going to have to be very highly trained. The prototype inventory is a huge gain for the jeweler, but it's going to take a lot of specialization to make that move from the prototype to the real thing. You're going to have to know your stuff, and so training is going to have to be very intense, much even more so than it's ever been for that. Because then now you have them in your hand, and you could easily drop them. They could go away. So I think it's going to take a tremendous amount of training and practice and involvement by the people behind the counter.
So to kick it back over to you, Matt, are you going to be working on developing training materials that go along with all of the prototype materials so that people know how to use it more effectively?
Well, no question about that. I think Hearts of Fire, has really shown over the years that, training is crucially important to the staff. But what we're trying to do with our innovative products today is making it very, very user-friendly, is that it is intuitive. All of our programmers today in building this product comes out of the gaming industry. There is no person today that does a game on the internet that reads the instructions first. Well, we're doing the same thing with product, that the jeweler is using in order to be able to work with the customer. So it's not the innovative technology that we're bringing to the marketplace that is difficult. It's really understanding the true sales psychology and how to work with that customer and what they want. And all that these tools are is just put in their arsenal to be able to make it happen.